Welcome to the Communication Diva Podcast, episode 70. Today's podcast is a feature interview with actor, writer, producer, arts activist, and teacher Jackson Davies. That's right, the diva is moving up the interviewer food chain in Canada and making a run for the A-team. If I was you, Gian Gomeshi, I would be looking over my shoulder right about now. Just saying.
Hi, this is Jen Swanson, and you're listening to the Communication Diva Podcast. And this is the podcast where interesting personalities come on, where I talk about skills, ideas, thoughts, and all sorts of things to do with communication. And my hope with this podcast is that you will be entertained, that you will learn something, that you will take something away, whether it be a thought or a concept, and apply it in your own life so that you can improve your relationships and live a little more gently in this world. And so before I turn you over to my interview with guest Jackson Davies, I wanted to just let you know how I'm doing with the whole gluten-free thing. I'm down about 5 pounds and I'm hungry all the time. I'm still a little cranky. But a friend of mine has loaned me a couple of really good-looking cookbooks, and one of them even has chocolate chip cookies in it. So I'm looking forward to testing a few of these things out because the vegetables are getting a little old. They're very good. I know they're very good for me, but I would like to branch out a little bit and once in a while have something delicious. So far, the things that I have tried have not been delicious, more like cardboard with paste on them. So we'll see how it's going. It's a very busy month right now for me. I've got a youth-led service happening at the church that I work at next week. So corralling all these young people to put on the service on their own has been fun. I've got all sorts of stuff that I'm busy doing. There's a kids camp coming up in July. And so I'm really focused on that. I've got lots going on with my students at the college, and I'm going to be going into a summer school program myself. So never ends. Anyhow, here I'd like to present to you this person who, whenever people mention his name, there is smiling that goes on. And my son came home from school one day, university, and he said, "Mom, do you know who Jackson Davies is?" And I looked at him and I said, "Of course I do." I said, "How do you know who he is?" And the response was, "Well, he's one of my teachers, and you need to interview him." So here you go. Thanks to Ben, I've gotten in touch with this fine gentleman. And without any further ado, I will turn you over to this interview that happened earlier this week. Hi, everyone. This is Jen Swanson with Communication Diva, and I am sitting in sunny North Vancouver at Capilano University today with my special guest, celebrity Jackson Davies. Welcome, Jackson.
Boy, I guess that term sunny in North Vancouver and celebrity, I mean, I hope we're telling the truth here. It is sunny, and I've probably gone from being a celebrity to maybe a regional personality.
I still think you're a celebrity. There you go. So I was interested in interviewing you because, for many reasons, but you are a busy guy, and I understand you were just at the Leos getting a special award.
Yeah, it was they honored the Beachcombers, a series that I did for 16 years. It's kind of like the 40th anniversary of the Beachcombers this year, so they had a nice little a tribute to it, and I got up and said a couple words. We showed some clips. It was neat because you could look around that room, and probably at every table there was a little bit of Beachcomber DNA, meaning that people that either acted on the show or maybe worked on the cruise. So that's a neat thing about domestic production, Canadian domestic production, is that it helps people in the industry. Yeah.
There must have been a lot of people it's the longest running ever series in Canada, isn't it?
Yes, longest running drama. It's at 19 years from 1972 to 1991. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, I remember watching it.
and you were just a kid.
Yeah, right. No, fantastic. So a couple of questions I had for you. You're a very busy guy. You're working as a teacher here on faculty at the university in film and television, and you're also on the Arts Council. Is that right? You're working with the union of performers.
Yeah, I've taught at Capilano University in the film and theater department for about 7 or 8 years, and then I kind of, and I still do a lot of writing, but I'm the vice chair of the BC Arts Council. And what that group is, that's a group in BC that's kind of an arm's length from the government, and what we do is we actually support all the arts through the whole province, whether it's theater, there's museum, art galleries, and we have a board, a very eclectic board from people from all across the province. Now, we don't really say who gets what. I mean, that's done by a peer group, but we kind of oversee the direction of the board. And then I'm also the vice president of the UBCP, which is the Actors Union, which is affiliated with ACTRA. So these are my years to be kind of political and try to help support the Canadian film industry.
That's right. So you started off at what age when you decided you wanted to be an actor?
You know, I don't know if I really ever had a whole flash that I wanted to be an actor. I think it was Marlene Hoyme in grade 9. It was a girl that was taking drama, and I thought maybe I better get in the same class with her. I thought, gosh, you know what she's doing now. But I just got interested in high school, and I grew up in a small town in central Alberta. And in the summer, they used to have drama schools for the province. So I got a chance to work with directors from all over the world. And there was one director from a group called Playground Players in Edmonton, and he said, "Did you want to come and work?" So I actually even left high school early and went to do this professional company. Then went from that company to the Citadel Theatre, which is a big regional theatre in Alberta, and we toured and did shows. And then that was, I guess I'd be 17, 18 years old. So then moved out to Vancouver and did a lot of regional theatre. There's my theme song playing right now. Isn't that interesting in the background? You know, it's really trouble when you have when you have the theme song. For the show that sits on my phone, isn't that? That's a good bit of timing, isn't it?
That's perfect.
Yeah. And basically just did that. Did a lot of regional theater all across from Victoria right to the East Coast, and then started doing film in the early 70s, and started on the Beachcombers in 74. Ouch, 74. Doesn't seem so old until you say it.
Oh, well, it's the state of mind, right? Yeah. So you were doing that, and you kind of fell into it then. I mean, it sounds like you worked hard, though, if you were touring.
Yeah, I did. I worked hard at it, but it was one of these things where you just kind of, naivete is a wonderful thing sometimes. And, you know, if you come at things, I was always, I guess, a pretty honest actor, and had obviously a little bit of talent, and would always work on my craft as well. And I was around some good people, too. But like I said, sometimes when you know, not that I think I would try brain surgery, but sometimes when you're not trained in something, sometimes you can attack it more.
Yeah, very passionate about it and finding your way.
Yeah, it just, you know, life's a crazy thing. You know, fate takes you down different paths, and how one thing happens, it triggers something else. Whether there's a preconceived way things happen or not, you just kind of go with the flow.
Yeah. So one of the things that I wonder now is how do you, you're advocating for the arts and some of the things that you do. How do you share and communicate how important the arts are out there? Because with all the tax things that are going on and all the cuts and the Playhouse closing down, it seems like we're not really much of a theater town anymore.
Well, you know, I hope we are. As far as the theater goes, it's always been a struggle. It's a subsidized industry, and it's very important industry. I tend to do a lot of fundraisers for the different theaters, but it's wonderful being an actor. In theater, you get a great response, and I guess it's always a little frustrating to me sometimes when people say, "Well, yeah, I went to New York and saw a couple of shows." Well, the quality of the theater in Vancouver is as good as anywhere in the world. But we're not known as a theater town. We're known more for, you know, skiing and outside, but we have a great arts community. We have all sorts of, you know, the talent in this province is unbelievable. So, you know, there's ways to deal with that. You can whine and complain about it, or you kind of go and you become an advocate. And I make sure that I do that, with the government. I'm sure the people in the government roll their eyes when they hear that I'm coming in the room because, well, that's what I do. And I know maybe sometimes my students who probably have no idea about everybody, you know, they kind of want to be, you know, maybe stars as opposed to actors, but I have to realize that there's a responsibility that comes with being an actor, and you have to fight for this. It's not like you're a dental hygienist that's going to get X amount of dollars, and it's a very difficult business, and we have some incredibly talented people, and I always try to tell them that they have to put some worth to their performance. we're in a business where people expect us to do things for nothing. Well, it's okay. Could you come and do this or do? No, I mean, we should put some value to it. And a community, I think, is not really a community without the arts.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. And but my two oldest are in musical theater, as you know, and they have come up against people saying, "Oh, and then what are you going to do?" Or and when are you going to get a real job? And these things, and it's disheartening.
Well, it is, and it is something that they will get a lot, and I got that until until all the people. So, what are you really going to do? Well, it is tricky. It is tricky. I think that as far as if you're an actor, you're going to have pretty thick skin that way, and you have to put your worth to it. But and also I think the world's changing a bit with the arts. I mean, who knows what's going to happen if both your kids are extremely talented. I mean, who knows where they're going to end up? They may end up not in musical theater. They may end up in a TV show. They may end up running a network. I think there's a different sense now that people want creative people. That they really want people that kind of think outside of the box, because we can always do beige. But it is a business. I can't tell you how many times that people say to me, "Well, when are you going to leave? When are you going down to Hollywood?" Well, I've been to Hollywood. I would rather be here. Probably the only profession in the world that people expect you to leave, and they feel disappointed that you don't. I was lucky enough to work with a couple actors, Bruno Gerussi and Robert Clothier from the Beachcombers, who could have worked anywhere in the world, absolutely, but they wanted to stay here and start an industry here in a star system, and actually they were put down for that.
Really?
Yeah, it's maybe it's a Canadian thing. What's that? There's great stories. Isn't there a joke about that? Like lobsters in a pot, if someone's trying to crawl out, they keep trying to pull them back in. Something like that.
Yeah, I know, and it saddens me that it is such a hard thing to do what you love to do, and just see what happens.
Yeah, but I guess you should always follow what you're passionate for, and supposedly it takes care of itself. I guess we hope that happens in life, but who knows? And it's a great line out of Hollywood that says nobody knows anything, and it's kind of true. If we did, we'd be able to all have the hit song or the hit musical at any given time, or the hit movie. But we don't, so we just keep stabbing away. And I look at my students and I think, what's the worst thing that can happen? Well, they have confidence. They're not afraid to get up and perform and do something. And a lot of people can't do that, and they have courage. Whether you're a hockey player, an actor, in the end, you got to have courage, or you don't survive. And that's important.
Yeah, I talk to people who say these things like, what are they going to do next? And I think, the training that they get here is life training.
Yeah, it is, absolutely. I certainly do in my class. I know that I teach one class in musical theater for acting for the camera, but this year I made sure that they could all kind of figure out how to edit, how to shoot something, because that's the new world, where I had to grow up on Word Perfect and Office. This new generation has to know how to edit. They have to know how to shoot something, because that's that whole communication thing. The world is different. In 5 or 6 years, we probably won't recognize the entertainment industry and the TV channels. Everything, probably Google will own everything.
Yeah.
But in the end, the the distribution model changes. The network idea changes. But in the end, it's all about content. It's all about talent. So down the end of the road, these people who have that ability and the talent will be the ones that survive. I mean, maybe CTV won't, because they rely on American shows all the time. And then once that comes over the border without any stops, then they're a sports network. But what happens if you can be creative, if you can sing, you have that ability, that distribution model goes from the talent to the consumer, as opposed to it used to go from the talent to the network, to the distributor, to the cable, whatever. So those middle group are taken out. So in the end, maybe the business model will work for talent.
Have you noticed any changes in the acting, or how you have to do your craft over the years? Not technically, but just the actual acting. Yeah,
it's a lot like society in BC. It's a lot like the television industry. There's no middle-income actors anymore. There's either really, really highly paid actors, and then the group that are struggling. The average salary for an actor is probably, a professional actor is probably only about $18,000 a year. But of that, you will get a whole group that will only do 3 or 4 different things. But you will also get people that are making $200,000 or $300,000, and maybe not millions of dollars in Canada, the Canadian ones. But so that business has changed a bit. So you have to be a little bit more creative, and I find that I never just act. I wrote. I had a commercial production company. I would do industrial films, which means film training films. I write. I've written a couple of movies that got made, or just finished a book a while ago. So I find, but because that's being creative, and you just don't want to be kind of painted into one corner. And I just still like to do theater and film. If there's an interesting thing, I'll do it. But most of the stuff I get now, where I don't need to play an old lawyer or a judge or something like that. If I want to do something, I'll write it for myself.
Yeah, because you don't want to get stuck, right?
Yeah, and it's the same old thing. Done that, been there, done that. You got the call sheet.
yeah, exactly. So in your work with the young students that you've got, what do you do to inspire them?
Good question. You challenge them. You want to. I think what I do is I want to give them some worth. Because they do, it is a kind of a strange business. People think you're doing it because it's fun, it's cute, isn't it great? It's like a parlor game, and I try to get them to have some sense of dignity in what they do, and that it's that there should be no entitlement. It should be a privilege to be an actor, and with that comes responsibility, and I also try to teach them to fight for it, to fight for the industry itself. To be able to, say someone who you bump into that works at wherever you're, a coffee shop or whatever, or manufacturing or a lawyer or whatever, and being able to defend the arts and how important it is, for that. So I try to get instill that little sense of worth in them.
That's good. They have a good program as part of the program here, I understand, called Professional Behavior Review. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, and it's very important. In life, it's kind of important to be a decent human being. And a lot of the marks here are for professional behavior, meaning that you're going to show up on time, you're going to have your lines learned, you're going to be professional, you're not going to whine, all those things. You're going to be supportive, because that's important in the real world, whether you're an actor, whether you're anything else. And it is true, if there's a prima donna out there, they have to be pretty talented, because the word gets out that they're a little bit of a pain in the butt to work with. So if you are, I've always been very thankful for my career and the things, and people used to pay me, not so much now, used to pay me a lot of money for the things I probably used to get kicked out of school for doing. So I had to kind of tread lightly on that. But no, it is a very important part of Canada, the arts, and I just think that it probably should be more important.
How equipped are the kids who come in for this kind of stuff? How equipped are they for that, the communication, the professional behavior?
Well, I think it depends a lot on the kid. A lot of the kid. I find that probably the people in the musical theater are maybe a little bit more prepared than just the normal acting for the stage and screen, because they're singers and sometimes they're dancers, so they have to have a bit of discipline. They have to be able to take those, to take the singing lessons or work at it, whether it's piano or whatever, or the dancing. So they probably have a bit more of maybe a bit better work attitude, but it changes from kids. There's some kids that are just right from the day one, and others just, they're thinking, oh, well, I'm going to become a star in Hollywood, but without any work.
Yeah, that's probably the same in any industry.
Probably.
Yeah. One of the things I've noticed over the years, I've been teaching for about, 19 years or something now, and similar age group, I would suspect. So late teens, early 20s. And I have noticed a difference in the communication style as they've come, over the years. I've noticed a difference in things like, just knowing how to communicate face to face.
Yeah, and maybe that's a sign of the technology. I kind of look back and I was thinking of my kids and how they probably helped learn how to read by watching Sesame Street and little snippets. And I find that now that we've got texting is one thing and tweeting and things, you tend to keep shrinking your ability to have a conversation down. and whether it's a text or whether it's a tweet, it's now compressing your dialogue. It's not like it's like you're having a conversation in sound bites like they do on. And I know that I'm sure the politicians have realized this too. If they want to get tweeted, if they wanted to get quoted, their speeches or everything will have to have those little flashpoints, those little 1 or 2 words that goodness gracious, if someone would actually listen to 3 or 4 sentences. So I think that I would think that we probably sound so cliche and old school, but it seems to me that people don't have the attention span that they used to, or maybe I didn't have an attention span either. But it seems that it's a bit of an investment now that you have to actually sit down and spend some time doing something. Instant gratification. Probably the guys that maybe come from video games. I don't know about the ladies.
Yeah, well, there's lots of ladies doing that too. I know that. So, in the years that you've spent in this industry, what is something that you've learned that has helped you to serve in the world?
What have I learned from the industry?
Or your experience that has helped you?
You know what? I think. I'll go back to being a decent human being again. I guess I've seen it, and whether it's I played a little hockey. I played hockey with the Vancouver Canuck alumni, and there's a type of person in sports, and there's a type of person in the entertainment industry that can connect. And I think I've learned that that's really important, to connect to people. If someone kind of recognizes you chat for a while, you have some sort of conversation with them. It's, what is it? Take a couple seconds out of your life. Whereas opposed to someone who just kind of, grunts and kind of goes on. It's, we are in the public eye. That's how I got paid to do my job. And to think that then they were okay when I was getting paid and doing the show, but when someone comes up and wants an autograph, I'll be negative. Why should I be? Because it's all a part of the business. I mean, you're in the public life, and that's fine. I think I've learned that's I think, but I've always been that way. I think I've been kind of personable, and I think that's a nice thing. And when someone says, "Oh yeah, he's a nice person," that's good. You don't have to be the greatest actor in the world. You don't have to be the most wonderful person, but I think it's okay to be a decent human being.
And it's true. Every time, anytime I'm around anywhere where your name is mentioned, people smile, right? It's just, that's just the way it is, I think.
Yeah, that's, and I don't know what's the way that was brought up. My parents are, like me, I think the first professional production they ever saw, I was in. So it was not like we had a big theater background.
Right. So if you wanted to give a listener some communication advice, what would it be?
I think that don't be afraid to engage. Don't be afraid to just, and also listen. I'll probably make that mistake too. It's like, I knew this guy that someone said, well, if you ask them a time, they build you a clock. Instead of just saying it. So I would think it's okay to listen. It's okay to be, it's okay to be honest, and if something bothers you, say something about it, because in life you don't want to go, I should have said something. Why didn't I say something? So I guess we all have those boundaries one way or the other, but don't be afraid to say things.
Well, thank you so much for taking this time. I've really enjoyed it and appreciate that you're taking this moment out of your busy life.
Well, and thank you for listening to me.
So there was my interview with Jackson Davies, and I've put a little bit of Jackson's bio on the website at communicationdiva.com if you're interested in learning a little more. Of course, he has an IMDb profile, and you just need to Google his name and you will find all sorts of information. This guy has been in over 160 stage plays. He's been in something like over 300 television and film appearances, and he just seems to have his hand in many, many pies, and yet is still a very decent person. And so I really had fun meeting Jackson Davies, and appreciate that I'm able to share him and a little bit of his story and his thoughts with you. So I hope that you have enjoyed this. Please do feel free to leave me a message on SpeakPipe or on the website. You just click on the button on the right-hand side and you can leave me an audio message. You can send me an email at jenn@communicationdiva.com. You can leave a comment by clicking on the little comment counter at the bottom of every episode and click on that, and it will bring up a screen that you can enter a comment or a message. I do love to hear from you. I love your feedback. I will be bringing you next week a listener question from the SpeakPipe application. So I will bring you her question and address that in my upcoming episode next week. So thanks again for listening. Until I speak to you again, I do hope you have a wonderful week and take good care.